Good evening, Oxnard. I'm David Marin, a member of the League of Women Voters, and tonight we're bringing you a forum for the two candidates who are running for supervisor in District 5 for Ventura County. At this time, I'd like to first introduce our League President, Betsy Patterson.
Good evening. I am happy to welcome you all on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Ventura County, and I am joined tonight by our mascot, Harry T. Byrne, the voter bear. Harry and I visited the ballot drop boxes around the entire Ventura County recently, and they should be opening up fairly shortly since the county clerk recorder has started sending out the ballots. Harry is named after the young Tennessee state legislator who, after receiving a letter from his mother, changed his nay vote to a yay vote, allowing Tennessee to become the 35th state to ratify the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. That was 100 years ago, and it granted women across our nation the right to vote. The League of Women Voters was established in 1920 also with the mission of encouraging civic engagement, which includes signing up new voters, educating voters about the candidates and the issues, and encouraging all citizens to vote. We hold the right to vote precious, since, as we all know, not all people were given that right in the original Constitution. The League is a nonpartisan political organization. We do not support or oppose any candidate or political party. We do, however, support or oppose ballot propositions based on positions we have developed over the past 100 years. Each of us has a voice in our government, but only if we use our vote. To be informed voters, we must ask questions of the candidates and understand the pros and cons of the ballot propositions before we cast our vote. This is your opportunity as voters to learn about the candidates and where they stand on issues important to you. Harry T. Byrne and I want to thank you for joining us tonight, and we hope many of your questions are answered by the candidates, and be sure to make a plan to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy. So the way we are going to do this, we'll have opening statements from both candidates. We randomly drew numbers earlier, and then we'll take questions from the audience via the website. You already submitted those questions. We're not going to take any questions live. After we finish the question round, we'll have closing statements in the reverse order. So with our first candidate, it'll be Tim Flynn. Tim, when you're ready, you have 1.5 minutes.
Thank you very much, David, and thank you very much to the League of Women Voters this evening. It is indeed a celebration that 100 years ago that women were given the right to vote, and today, yet again, we have a woman who is a vice presidential running mate. So my campaign for county supervisor is predicated on 3 things: rebuilding Oxnard and Ventura County, reinvesting in its people, and revitalizing neighborhoods. And let's talk very quickly about rebuilding. In particular, prior to the pandemic, Oxnard and Ventura County has experienced 5 years in a row of negative or zero economic growth. The primary issue facing the people of this county, and in particular the city of Oxnard, is jobs. It's all about jobs, and it's all about upward social mobility. So my plan is to get this Oxnard rebuilt, and in particular, we need to start with Fisherman's Wharf. I'll go into that later. I'm sure there's going to be a question about that. Reinvesting in people. I've spent 25 years as an educator, investing in younger people. What does reinvesting mean? Reinvesting means in order to bring higher paying jobs to Ventura County, we must invest in younger people in job training and in college educations. We must make sure that they're ready for 21st century jobs. And finally, revitalizing neighborhoods. In particular, Silver Strand and Hollywood Beach need neighborhood councils. We need to turn these neighborhoods around, and I have a track record of doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Carmen Ramirez.
Good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Thanks to League for this event and this opportunity to talk to voters of District 5. And good evening to my fellow council member, Mayor Flynn. I'm running for supervisor. I've been running now for 18 months. I let people know right at the beginning that I was going to run for supervisor, and I didn't wait till the last minute to jump in. And because of that, and before that, I've been very involved in efforts to get to know what's going on at the county. Since I've been on council, I have worked very hard to seek regional solutions to problems we have in our city. I'm a lawyer, been a lawyer for more than 40 years. I've served the people of this county, of this city, of this district with their basic needs for housing, civil rights, benefits when they needed them, when they were disabled, single moms, and more. I have the pulse of our community. I know what people need. The crisis has devastated us economically, health-wise. People have died, but thanks to the efforts of the county and each of us who's being responsible, we've kept the virus somewhat in check. We have to keep on doing that so we can rebuild our economy, get our jobs back, help businesses. And I want to talk to you more about my endorsements, which really tell you who I am and what I'm about. Thank you.
Thank you. And Carmen, one moment. Carmen, first question is going to start
Sure.
with you. And one of the services provided by the County of Ventura is in the area of mental health services, dealing with homeless, transitional age youth, some of those services. Tell us about your specific plans to assure care for those special groups.
A few years ago, I was involved in an effort to get better services for the city and the residents of Oxnard who are not getting the same level of services with wellness centers, with particularly Spanish-speaking therapists that we needed. As a result of my efforts and those of the group I was working with, we've seen an increase in services to our community of Oxnard, which actually is the higher user of all health services, including mental health. And it has to be culturally appropriate. We have to have therapists who can talk to the individual affected and the individual's family when needed. Yes, many homeless people have problems. I think that anybody who'd be homeless for a long time would have mental health issues, but some are more serious than others. As an attorney, I have represented and still represent people who have mental illness, who suffer from it. And mostly these are folks who are not going to hurt anybody else, but are in danger of living a very declined life because of their situation. I know what they need. I know how to listen, and we need to make it so that people can live a more productive life. Yes, some homeless people do have mental illness, but many homeless people are simply priced out of housing because their income's too low. We have to take a look at supportive services for people who need it and culturally appropriate services for people who've been marginalized.
Thank you. Tim, same question to you. The county provides services for mentally health, the homeless, transitional youth, et cetera. Tell us how you're going to help those services. What are your plans?
Well, the homeless aren't the only ones that that have a population of people that suffer from mental illness. But let's just talk about the homeless in particular. There are 1,600 approximately homeless people in Ventura County. 2/3 of the 1,600 are in the city of Oxnard and the city of Ventura. But the vast majority of the 2/3 are right here in the city of Oxnard. Oxnard needs its fair share of county resources to address this urgent emergency. And when I say urgent, people living on the street, people defecating in the street, people living in bushes, people scaring merchants out of the downtown. This is an emergency. So that's first and foremost. But most importantly, let's talk about mental health, which the county is the only public entity left that provides mental health services. I'm a big supporter of the county ASSIST program. The ASSIST program is crafted after a 2001 state legislature law that allows counties to voluntarily opt in to get help for those individuals who suffer from mental illness, and in particular, those individuals who are service resistant. A lot of people that are homeless, that suffer from mental illness, are service resistant. The ASSIST program, in some instances, gets court-ordered relief for those individuals. I want to expand that ASSIST program, and I want to include alcohol and drug rehabilitation in those efforts.
Okay, thank you, Tim. We're going to start the next question with you, and we'll talk about the airport. So at the high level, as far as what are your views about the county's role and the city's role about the Oxnard Airport? And then very specific question for you is about, would you support a joint use agreement for an ASR well? And I believe an ASR is a surveillance radar system. So if I'm right about that, if you're familiar, great. If you're not, I understand. But tell us your views about how the airport should be managed by the county working with the city. And
well, first and foremost, I believe that it's high time that the County Board of Supervisors provide the leadership to address the fact that we have 850,000 people in Ventura County, 5 airports, and not one airport is providing commercial service. This is to the detriment of growing businesses in Ventura County and attracting businesses to Ventura County. And remember, the #1 goal is attracting higher paying jobs to the county. So let's talk about the 5 airports. Santa Paula Airport is a privately held airport. There are 2 county airports with are Oxnard and Camarillo. And formerly it was only Oxnard's airport where commercial service flew in. And then there are 2 military airports. I am an advocate of a possible joint use agreement with the United States military. There are 26 joint use agreements throughout this great nation of ours, where the military has partnered with commercial service and providing commercial service. We need to take a look at that. Not only do we need to take a look at that, we need to actually examine this issue of what are the role of airports in economic development. And I think they play a very strong role. End with one story. BMW of North America is in South Oxnard. And about 15 years ago, they relocated a lot of their operations in Southern California to the city of Oxnard. One of the reasons they didn't locate all of their operations and they kept some of them in Ontario, California, is because of Oxnard's lack of commercial airport service and Ventura County.
Thank you. Carmen, same question to you as far as your views about the relationship with the city on the airport, what you think should happen, and if you're familiar, should there be some type of radar well?
You know, I'm not familiar with the radar, but I will say that the airport as it exists in Oxnard is an issue for the residents. And yes, it is useful for certain businesses, but it's a problem. And it's actually has been a danger or has prevented development because of fear of accidents right over many, many residents. And I understand that that's the reason why Oxnard High School was decommissioned and had to be moved away. So people complain to me all the time about the noise from Camarillo. Now, we do need to have an airport. It does need to be successful, but I think we have to really listen to the residents, both of Camarillo and of Oxnard, about what kind of airport they want. We're going to have to find a way to compromise. It's a wonderful idea to be able to use the military base, but they're very careful about what happens in encroachment, many security issues with having military and civilian work, especially these days together. And I think that we have to really be careful with the noise, the pollution, and the traffic that comes with major airports. I'm certainly willing to listen to both sides on this and see where we can go from there. I know there's a lot of concern about Camarillo extending runways and accepting larger jets. That is, I understand the people of Camarillo are concerned about it. I will listen to everybody.
Thank you, Carmen. We're going to stay with you for the next question. Obviously, nobody expected at the beginning of the year for the country, the world to be hit by a pandemic, but we are recovering from that. The city of Oxnard has been hit very hard along with other places. If you are elected to the Board of Supervisors, what will be your role in trying to help businesses recover as far as the county's jurisdiction, the city's jurisdiction? How will you work with the city to collaborate?
There's a couple of things. One is I'm on the Ventura County Community Foundation Oversight Committee that is helping the county distribute the grant funds that have been established. The money does come from the federal government through the CARES program. I was there to make sure, without violating anybody's confidence or telling what businesses were getting what, that Oxnard businesses would not be left out. As you know, we have a lot of small businesses in Oxnard, a lot of Spanish-speaking owners who don't have all the technical support. I made it my business to make sure they did get that as much as possible. So I've appreciated what the county has done, and I think it's been pretty even, but we need to do more of that. One of the big problems is that the next phase of support from the federal government is desperately needed by all of us, but I mean cities, the county, and the individuals, more unemployment till people can get back on our feet. And that hasn't happened. Now, our Congress people here have been really working on it, but it hasn't happened. So we have to double down and make sure we use those funds efficiently. We get more private funds. I've also been working with the city to make sure that our staff as much as they can help our businesses apply for the grants that are available. Meanwhile, we have to do everything we can to be responsible, to stay safe, keep the virus down so we can reopen.
Thank you. Tim, same question. What will you do as far as being a supervisor with the city to help the community recover from COVID? How will you collaborate with the city?
David, you're asking a question about future tense, and I'm going to talk about what I'm doing now. And what I've been doing since the beginning of this crisis, sometime around mid-March, is working with local businesses to keep them open. And for those businesses that have been restricted because of the provisions set down by the county, it's how can we improvise, how can we work around that to keep those businesses operative, and how can we get people back to work. And I have many stories in South Oxnard, helping Best Breakfast and Best Lunch, Daniel Cobian, get his business reopened, get located, get seating locations outdoors. He's actually expanding his business. Right now, he's at 30 or 40% of his total capacity, but it's working with businesses now to get these people back to work. So that's number one, and that's extremely important. Number two, as a Ventura County supervisor, before this, we know that the election's in November and this next supervisor will be seated in January. It's about rapid testing, in particular, rapid results and rapid risk management based on credible data. And that's really how this county can manage and more effectively manage this COVID-19 crisis. But let me just stop. Before COVID-19 struck, the county had 5 years straight of negative economic growth. And now with COVID, it's made that situation only worse. I'll end by saying the retail revolution, right, began before COVID-19. COVID-19's only accelerated that. It's about getting people retrained and back to work.
Thank you. Tim, we'll start with you on the next question. This is about climate change. And the questions basically are asking about how you will balance climate change issues with economic development, changes that we're seeing in jobs and industry, the potential for new green jobs. But I want to make it clear, it's not asking whether you believe in climate change. We are talking about adapting to climate change. Tell us about your policies, what you will advocate for.
Well, first and foremost, climate change is real, and the state of California is the most aggressive out of the 50 states in having a carbon neutral policy over the next 25 years. And of course, county government it's going to be incumbent upon county government to carry out those state rules and regulations on how we actually address climate change and do so in a very forceful way. Fact of the matter is that the county of Ventura already has a climate action plan. And so it's not just about having a plan, it's about implementing that plan. But let me talk about where leadership really comes in, and that's balancing the climate change factor, where we know that the temperature in Southern California alone over the last 100 years has gone up by 3 degrees. So we know that global warming has, in particular, and climate change has affected Ventura County. But the leadership comes in on the Board of Supervisors on how to transition this fossil fuel dependent economy. Behind Kern County and Los Angeles County, Ventura County is the #3 producer of oil and natural gas. How are we going to transition these fossil fuel industry jobs to alternative energy jobs? And it's about implementing this climate action plan, number one. And number two, we can't throw people out of work. That is irresponsible and that is callous. We have to have a transition plan, and that's where leadership comes in, and that's what I intend on providing.
Thank you. Carmen, same question to you. How will you balance climate change issues with economic development, changes in jobs, industries, things like new green jobs? How are we going to adapt?
We are adapting now. I think I'd say with my leadership, we actually have jobs created in the green energy development, and that's Ventura Clean Energy Storage, which is replacing the Puente power plant, which was almost a done deal on the Oxnard coast at Mandalay. That is going to replace 100 megawatts of energy for the region, not just for Oxnard, with good paying jobs, project labor agreement, union jobs, and community benefits. Today, Exxon briefly was surpassed by the Next Era Energy, green energy. And it is known that clean energy jobs provide 3 times as many jobs as in the fading fossil fuel. I don't believe that anybody should be left behind. We have to make these fossil fuel companies accountable. Right now, they have perhaps $1 billion in liability for the cleanup of idle wells. We know that oil drilling does cause health consequences, and we have to transition. Nobody should be left behind like the coal industry has left all of the coal miners with black lung disease behind, abandoned their pensions and their health plans, and just walked away. We cannot allow the fossil fuel industry to do that, and to stop getting involved in politics like they are today in Oxnard in this race, supporting my opponent to the tune of $100,000.
Thank you, Carmen. We're going to start the next question with you. Ventura County is primarily, well, Ventura County has a very strong agricultural economy. It's home to an important military base. But from your perspective, if you're elected, what other industries and businesses do you think should be sought to move to Ventura County and supported here?
Well, I'd certainly love to see more high-tech jobs, but that means we have to invest in the education our young people will need and reentry people will need to get into that high-tech. Meanwhile, you know, I'm not running for school board, but I am concerned about education. One of the things we have to do is improve our internet. Young people really need it now in the schools because some parts of our own city do not have adequate access to the internet. Businesses don't have adequate access to the internet. We've got to improve that countywide, and I'd say in particularly those neglected parts of our county. With that, we can bring jobs here. We are one of the best places to live in the country, despite the fact that we're the fastest warming area because of climate change in the country. We need to combat that. We need to, I'd say, focus on tourism, science, and education industries. We do have a university. We need to take advantage of that for the scientific research that's available when we have that kind of an institution here. Healthcare is a huge issue coming forward. We have the silver tsunami coming, and we need to invest in healthcare too, and all of the jobs that go with it. So there are opportunities once we get through this COVID crisis and bring our economy back. We really need to invest in education in these up and coming emerging industries. And that does include renewable energy and infrastructure jobs.
Thank you. Tim, same question to you. We've talked about agriculture and military base being a strong part of the community, but what are the types of industries and businesses that you would try to recruit?
So let's talk about, David, this evening, what I have done and what I'm doing right now as the mayor of Oxnard. I led the effort to attract Amazon's second headquarters to the city of Oxnard. And although that attempt did not succeed, what it did is it showcased our assets. We put together a very attractive package. And as a result, as a direct result of that, this week, there will be a major announcement about new higher paying jobs with benefits that are coming to the city of Oxnard. So that's actually what I've been doing, what I've been working on as mayor of the city of Oxnard, and what I've actually been able to accomplish. I want to be able to take that accomplishment and I want to bring that to county government. So that's first and foremost. Since being elected mayor in 2012, I've talked about 21st century jobs, high-tech, biotech, and medical research positions. But in order to get that high-tech, biotech, and medical research positions, you need to have a lot of qualified potential employees. I'm a former high school teacher and community college teacher. I've been very focused on trying to work with the schools to get magnet programs. Magnet school programs like STEM or STEAM in the real school district, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And it's that training and it's those programs that will ready our children and this younger generation for these higher paying 21st century jobs. It's about the economy. It is about jobs, and it's about 21st century jobs. And we need to begin preparing younger people for them now.
Okay, Tim, we're going to start the next question with you. And this is one that has people very passionate on both sides of the issue and very frustrated as well. And that is the issue of the Channel Islands Harbor, Fisherman's Wharf. So please share with us why, if you were elected, you think anything will be any different. Will something eventually happen there? Tell us your concrete plans for that harbor.
David, let's talk about the leadership that I've exerted as mayor of the city of Oxnard. In the second week of my administration as mayor of the city of Oxnard, I called the county harbor director and the county council into my office at City Hall, sat down, had a meeting with them, and basically said the following: it's time that Oxnard has a seat at the table. And as a result of Oxnard having a seat at the table and the support of the California State Coastal Commission and my colleagues, including Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez, we turned down a project that was immensely unpopular at Fisherman's Wharf. Talking about this leadership role, I activated the Channel Islands Harbor Task Force to address the fact of the Harbor Patrol, to address the fact of the blight in Channel Islands Harbor, and the fact that this gem, this jewel in Channel Islands Harbor needs to be redeveloped. So although I was the #1 opponent of the Fisherman's Wharf 400-unit apartment project, was the #1 and continue to be the #1 proponent of a project for Fisherman's Wharf. The bottom line is this: today, the county is on the right path. It has selected a group of people and comprising of a residents committee. And that residents committee, again, we got to get buy-in from the public. And that residents committee right now is working on a new vision for Channel Islands Harbor as a whole, Fisherman's Wharf in particular. I've worked with all the players involved, and from day one, I've been active on this issue.
Thank you. Carmen, if you were elected supervisor, how will you make sure that something finally happens with Fisherman's Wharf?
Well, I want to start out by saying nothing has happened in the last 10 years. And for some inexplicable reason that maybe I will find out when I'm supervisor, the county would just not move off a dime when we knew that the residents were absolutely opposed to the project, that there wasn't any movement. Over and over, there'd be meetings and nothing would change. That will change now, because the county has come to the end of the road with that particular developer, as far as I understand, trying to force something down the people's throat and trying to tell Oxnard we had nothing to say about what gets developed in our city. It was really strange. And I know that at some point we're going to get to the bottom of it. Meanwhile, this area needs to be developed to be a tourist serving area. It can't be an enclave for luxury apartments, which was proposed. It has to take advantage of the fantastic asset there, the gateway to the Channel Islands, where people will come from all over to visit restaurants, businesses. One of my favorite businesses is there, and that's Joanna Steele's studio gallery, where I always go to get everything framed, including this behind me. And I think we have an opportunity for business, but if we turn it into Marina del Rey, that is just absolutely unacceptable. And I won't allow that to happen. We need something that everybody can agree on.
Okay, thank you. Carmen, next question. The Board of Supervisors, it's very active in the county-wide issues. It meets with many agencies and also regional and statewide bodies. If you are elected, tell us a little bit about your experience and what particular bodies and agencies you would want to work with or even serve on.
Currently, I am the chair of LAFCO, which for people who don't know, reviews the services available when there's going to be a new development. If there's not enough water, not enough sanitation, not enough police and fire, it just can't go forward. So it's called orderly growth to oppose sprawl. I'm also on the Air Pollution Control District, which I chaired a couple of years ago. I'm on SCAG, representing the city, Southern California Association of Governments. I'm on Beacon, which looks at the erosion and coastal assets from Santa Barbara through Ventura County and all the coastal cities, including Oxnard, Ventura, Port Hueneme. We're all on it to talk about what we need to do to prevent erosion, to get our harbors dredged, and to protect us from sea level rise. So I've been involved in a lot of these county organizations, and I continue to do that. I will continue to do that, to look at regional solutions, because the air, water, traffic, housing does not stop at the city's borders. And I've been doing that since day one. I took advantage of every opportunity to get involved, to bring our city's concerns to the regional table, because that's what we've got to do. Oxnard should not have to bear the housing burden of the county. It needs to be shared, and that's where you put it forth at Southern California Association of Governments with the RENA process, for example.
Thank you. Tim, tell us a little bit about your experience with regional bodies and also what bodies you would like to serve on if you were elected. Sorry, Tim, we didn't get you unmuted. Okay, that was my fault. Tim, go ahead. Start when you're ready.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much. First and foremost, I am the Oxnard representative on the Ventura County Council of Governments. So when we talk about trying to cooperate and working with city government and with county government, I already have the experience of actually doing that. So Ventura County Council of Governments is a collection of all of 10 of Ventura County cities. And we not only take on the most important issues facing the county of Ventura collectively, but we come up with solutions that we then advise respective city councils on how to act. So that's what I've been doing now as mayor of the city of Oxnard, working together with the 10 other cities, which I think definitely lays the groundwork for future action at the county level. But here's what I think, David, is more important. What is even more important than that is that we need a new role for county government. The new role for county government is the following. It took 147 years in the history of Ventura County to come up with an economic development plan that was just released in 2017. We need to implement that plan rigorously and vigorously to get new jobs and higher paying jobs here in the county. The county of Ventura is the 8th most expensive real estate market in the United States of America. And if we don't get higher paying jobs, our children are not going to be able to afford to live here. So my number one goal is the economy and jobs, and I'll sit on any regional board to forward those goals and objectives.
Thank you. Tim, we'll stay with you. I'm going to loop back here to climate. Tim, would you support shutting down the oil and gas industry, knowing that green jobs pay less than oil and gas industry jobs?
David, I think that is an excellent question. Number one, and I think this is where I contrast with my opponent for this race. I believe that, we're in the middle of a transition, and we all know that we're in the middle of a transition. There's nobody that denies that we're not in the middle of a transition. The question isn't whether we're in a transition. The question is, how do we do it? And that is the most fundamental question. My solution to that is that it's no different than power plants. The fact of the matter is that you have private equity, you have capital that's invested in any kind of investment. And if someone has invested capital in anything, forget oil, it could be any endeavor whatsoever, there needs to be an amortization of that investment. What does that mean? That means that people have invested their money, they expect a return on their money. The fact of the matter is this, what's most responsible is making sure that every single man and woman that works in an oil field, every single man and woman that works in the natural gas industry, that they have proper job training to assume these higher paying jobs. And David, that's another fact that you just presented. A lot of alternative energy jobs are not paying as much as these existing jobs that exist in the county. We have to focus on clean jobs that are going to provide the same wage, if not higher wages, than what those jobs are that we'll look to replace.
Thank you, Tim. Carmen, same question to you. Would you support shutting down the oil and gas industry, knowing that green jobs pay less in some cases?
I don't accept the premise. I read something today that jobs in clean energy pay 13% more. And then you have to think about what is happening when the oil industry fades. We can't be, as they say in baseball, caught looking. Let's get ahead of it. Let's retrain people who are in the fossil fuel industry. And those that cannot transition, they need a safety net. That's where the industry needs to be accountable. They have left in our county and throughout the state about more than $1 billion in debt. And they have liabilities to clean up. That's where your jobs are. And I'm hoping that we can get them to be responsible instead of filing bankruptcy like California Resources Corporation did after they spent almost $1 million to defeat me and Kim Stevenson in the primary. Why are they spending almost $1 million and then they are not cleaning up the pollution that they want to leave the residents with, like Halico on our coast? That company just walked away, filed bankruptcy, and now the people of Oxnard, the residents and taxpayers, are stuck holding the bag to clean it up. We just have to hold them accountable. And we're going to say what we want them to do and make them do it. I will not give them a pass. They've got to take care of their workers and they have to pay them well. They can do that, especially when they're spending $1 million against me.
Thank you. Carmen, I'm going to start with the next question. This is an interesting one. It'll be interesting to hear how you both respond. This is more towards your, I guess, sense of Ventura County. The question is comparing and contrasting Ventura to Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, even a little bit of Kern. How do you see the advantages, the pros of Ventura County and the negatives in comparison to our neighbors?
I think one of the great things about Ventura County and Oxnard in particular are the people. The people are fantastic. We're very diverse. We accept people. It's a rich cultural blend. The other thing is our environment. We have the ocean, the mountains, we have green space. And one of the things that contributed to that is SOAR. Now, some people say SOAR means no more housing. I totally disagree. SOAR means we're going to keep our green space, we're going to protect our agriculture, support our agriculture with some of the richest farmland on the planet, 30 feet or more of topsoil. Everything grows here as long as we can keep the water going. But we have to retain these assets. We can't have sprawl. I've been involved in LAFCO. I know what sprawl is. It's not allowed. We're going to have housing in the right place. It's going to be denser. It's going to be safer. It's going to be near transportation. So we have to build on those assets we have. I would refer everybody to the Washington Post article. Where is the best place to live in the United States of America? And they will tell you it's Ventura County. And I agree with that. I grew up in LA. I visit there, have family there. They're jealous that I live in Oxnard. Great weather, Ventura County, all these assets, great restaurants, local food, great businesses. We'll get back there after we tamp this virus down.
Thank you. Tim, how would you compare and contrast Ventura County with some of its neighboring counties?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got to get a new moderator. He seems to be asleep at the switch at times.
Okay.
I apologize. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Well, number one, Ventura County, and in particular, Oxnard, has the Dallas Cowboys, right? And there's a reason why the Dallas Cowboys come to the city of Oxnard. Not only is it the best place and the best facility for a nationally recognized NFL football team to practice, we have the best weather in the world. So we already have a built-in advantage over Los Angeles County, even Santa Barbara County, that the weather here is so unique. So we have that distinct advantage. That's number one. Number two, Ventura County residents have some of the highest per capita high-tech and computer use anywhere in the United States and anywhere in the world. And we need to take advantage of that over other areas to bring in higher paying jobs. So early on in the computer revolution, it was discovered that, again, per capita Ventura County residents had more computers and more access to higher technology than anywhere else in the country. We need to take advantage of that asset to attract 21st century jobs, high tech, biotech, and medical research jobs. But once again, if we're going to remain competitive, because again, having 5 years in a row where we've had negative economic growth, we're going to have to make very difficult choices. We have to balance the unbelievable quality of life that we have in Ventura County with the realities and the competition of the marketplace. We need to bring these higher paying jobs to Ventura County.
Tim, the question is, how will you prepare Ventura County for its future? Is it really good to be one of the most expensive counties in California?
David, I don't think there's anyone that's going to say that because housing in the city of Oxnard and throughout the county is the eighth most expensive anywhere in the United States, that is an attribute. The question is, how are we going to pivot? You know, that word pivot is exactly what businesses have had to do in the COVID-19 crisis. How are we going to pivot? It's because of our weather. It's because of the beauty of Ventura County that we have the eighth most expensive real estate market in the United States. So the question is, when it comes to pivoting, what is it that we're going to do to provide that balance? And what that's going to do means is that, thank goodness, we have open space preserved. There are only 2 counties out of the 58 counties in the state of California that have an open space agriculture protection law. And we are one of those 2. And thank goodness that we have it. But what does that mean, though? That means also that it restricts supply of housing. And by restricting supply, and we have a constant demand, the fact of the matter is it's going to raise prices. We have to find a way to build housing, infill housing that is smart growth, River Park is one of the closest developments that comes close, and the collection to smart growth, where you're locating housing right next to commercial centers so people can actually walk to those places. The redevelopment of Wagon Wheel is another example of smart growth and making sure that it's connected to transportation and that we can get out of the fact that we need to provide for this housing.
Thank you. Carmen, how will you prepare Ventura County for its future? And do you think it's good to be one of the most expensive counties to live and work in California?
It's not. And, you know, I really wish we had more than 90 seconds to talk about this, because these are complicated issues. They're going to need a lot of education, information to the public to accept some of the things we have to do. We have to be denser. We have to build up. We cannot sprawl. And particularly in our city of Oxnard, we have people living in very overcrowded situations. I've been to people's homes, some of my clients, they're living a whole family to a room in a suburban tract house. This is a horrible way to live. The children can't study. There's no privacy. We have a lot of domestic violence, unfortunately, in our city because of some of these things. I support housing of all kinds, from luxury to the most basic to supportive housing. We need it all. I've supported everything that has come before our city. I've spent a career supporting tenants and supporting housing for special populations like farm workers, seniors, people with special needs. We have to do it all. Not everybody wants to live in a 4-bedroom tract home. Some people want to live like our younger people in a studio or in a townhome near our transportation center. We have these opportunities. They're coming to downtown Oxnard. Some are being built right now. We have to provide more housing in the right way, respecting SOAR, which we're doing, and going up, everybody, up, not across.
Thank you, Carmen. Next question to you. Why do you think you are uniquely qualified for this position? And if you're elected, what will be some of your goals and priorities, and not just aspirations, but how are you going to get them accomplished? So why are you qualified, and how are you going to get some of your goals accomplished?
I would say one of the reasons I believe I'm uniquely qualified is for 40 years, I've been an attorney representing the people of Oxnard and greater Oxnard with their special difficulties. You know, people don't come to a lawyer when everything's great. They come to a lawyer when they have problems, and I help them fix their problems, address their problems with the government, with their housing situation, with consumer debt. I know what's going on. A big problem in our community is lack of social equality. People are poor. They don't have the best wages. I started my quote unquote political career working on the Coalition for a Living Wage, asking the city of Oxnard, other cities, and the county to adopt a living wage ordinance so people who work full time could still pay their rent. Now, there's a lot more to do there. Education is a huge part of it. I'm not going to be on the school board, but we have to really focus on getting our young people a better way of life that is better housing, better education, better opportunities, training for the new jobs. Health is important. Health is very expensive. I support single payer. I support everybody being able to get healthy, and then they can be productive. Then they can get educated, and then they can go for those great new jobs that are a bit out of reach right now.
Thank you. Tim, same question. Why are you uniquely qualified for this position, and what are some of your goals and priorities, and how will you accomplish those?
Well, David, one of the number one things that I can bring to this job on the Board of Supervisors is the fact that I have private sector and public sector experience. Let's first and foremost talk about private sector experience. Early on, even before I graduated from college, I worked in the agriculture industry and actually loaded trucks in the agriculture industry right here in Oxnard. So that's number one. Later, after and during college and after college, I then went into sales and marketing, and I was very successful at sales and marketing. But I felt that I had a calling to serve people on a different level, and some might even say a higher level. And that's why I entered education. I followed my father's footsteps as a public servant. He taught for 16 years at Balboa Junior High School. And that calling led me to 25 years as a high school teacher, not only in Oxnard, but outside of Oxnard and actually at Oxnard College. It also led to me getting involved in my neighborhood. I have actual neighborhood council experience right here in the Wilson neighborhood in the city of Oxnard, right down to the level of people, rolling up my sleeves, getting my hands dirty, and serving the public on each and every level. And when it comes to that well-roundedness, I think that's exactly what a member of the Board of Supervisors needs. Private sector and public sector experience and that wherewithal to get things done.
Thank you, Tim. We're going to move to the next question. This one's been asked around the county, all the forums that we've done, and it deals with the issue of racial inequality, deals with the issue of defunding the police, looking at social justice overall. The county of Ventura certainly manages the sheriff's department or funds it. So you're responsible for policing in the unincorporated areas and working with contract cities. Share with us your vision for what public safety would look like under you as a supervisor. Do you think defund the police is the way to go? And what are your views about Black Lives Matter and racial inequality?
Well, David, first and foremost, I'm proud to say that Oxnard, the city of Oxnard, has one of the best police departments anywhere in this great nation of ours. And along those lines, it has one of the best chiefs ever anywhere in the United States of America, Chief Scott Whitney. And it was his leadership, it was his inroads that he made with every single sector of this city as an explanation for why, after the George Floyd incident, we did not have violence in the city of Oxnard. That is a testament to the leadership of Chief Whitney, the two assistant chiefs, and the Oxnard Police Department. And I also might want to say that the county of Ventura has also been a leader in police reform. In a larger sense, racial inequity comes from the lack of social mobility. So I am focused, and I was focused, have been focused my entire life on uplifting people, not giving them a handout, but giving them a hand up. And when it comes to racial inequity, it's important to talk about why there's racial inequity in the United States of America, because there's not enough upward social mobility. I want to empower people. I want to take the population of this city and continue my good work at working with students, working with all sectors of Oxnard and the people of Oxnard, and providing them the American dream. It's the American dream that will equal the playing field, and I want to get people there, and I'm doing it now.
Thank you. Carmen, same question to you. Your thoughts about how the county oversees policing of the sheriff's department, reforming, defunding the police, also Black Lives Matter and racial inequality.
Again, 1.5 minutes, very difficult to discuss this very serious, complicated issue. I do not support defunding the police. I do support addressing the problems that cause crime. And generally speaking, it's poverty and mental health and lack of access to resources. But you can't resolve the racism, the history of racism in our country without understanding it. You can't just whitewash it, walk over it, pretend it didn't there. We have to know where we've been so we can see where we're going. I want to recommend to everybody this book about Oxnard, Strategies of Segregation, written by David Garcia, professor of UCLA, who went to our local high schools, who studied why we had segregated schools, de jure segregated schools in Oxnard. What is the legacy? I supported putting the phrase Black Lives Matter in the resolution our council passed unanimously. Thank you, all of my colleagues, including the mayor, because this was asked of me by friends of mine in the African-American community. Put it in there to say you understand what we've been going through. We do have a great police force in Oxnard. Our chief has really focused on hiring local people who can talk to and look like our community, including women, and I'm very proud of it.
Thank you. Carmen, start the next question with you. One of the largest pieces of the county government is the healthcare agency. A very large budget. It provides medical services to many people that are below the, who do not have, let's say, employer insurance. And also there's been questions about some of the services provided and fiscal transparency within the healthcare agency. Again, it's another 1.5 minutes. That's all I can give you. I'm sorry for a very big question for both of you. But share with us your philosophy, as far as the healthcare agency, are there changes that you think you would want to see? What is your view about how you'll help to manage that enormous agency?
Check in with me later for a deeper conversation. Yes, there's been some issues about the building of the new unit. Where did the money go? Why was it over budget? I don't have access to that information now, but it's something I certainly want to look at what happened there. I think the big thing for me is continuing to provide preventive care so we can get people out of going to the emergency when they're sick, when they're afraid of the bill. That's why so many people lost their insurance when they lost their jobs. People have to be healthy to work and be productive and to live a good life. With the virus, it is exposed all over this nation, the inequality of our healthcare system. I think there's a huge example right now about the kind of services the president got when he had what appears to be a mild case, and what other people suffered with and even died from because they couldn't get the same quality of services and medication. That's got to change. That is a basic human right. And I would like to work on our county they're really doing a good job. I've been a patient at the county. I've had minor surgery there. It's been excellent. We got to keep on improving it, make it more accessible and culturally relevant, and for our Spanish speaking, Mixteco speaking population. Not enough time to talk about this in detail, but thank you.
Thank you. Tim's, same question to you here. As far as county healthcare agency, if you were elected, how do you see your role of oversight? Are there particular policies you're going to promote? Please.
Outstanding question, David. First and foremost, what we need to acknowledge is that Ventura County provides one of the best healthcare systems anywhere in the United States of America. And how do we know that? They have a family medicine residency program that is renowned across the United States of America. We're talking about medical school students from all over the United States and from abroad that try to get into the residency program at Ventura County Medical Center. That is a testament in itself to the viability and to the accomplishments of this healthcare system. So that's first and foremost. And to me, I get goosebumps when I talk about the fact that it does deliver excellent healthcare. So that's first and foremost to acknowledge. Secondly, there is a system of clinics all throughout the county, and the city of Oxnard, with a high population of not only undocumented workers, but farm workers in particular that don't have direct access to healthcare. The clínicas and the clinics that are right embedded in neighborhoods are a key component to health. And you know what it's about, David? It's about healthcare prevention. So getting to someone when they have a cough, getting to someone when they're dehydrated, whatever that might be, is minuscule as a cost in intervention early on. And that's what those clinics are all about. Lastly, I want to make sure that it's financially the most viable public hospital system in the country. And I intend on doing that if I'm elected as your next supervisor.
Thank you, Tim. We're going to stay with you for the next question. Although a city councilman, for that matter, or a supervisor does not have an explicit role within the city, within the school districts, there is this question about youth in our community. And how will you help students get better internet? What will you do to promote greater internet use in the county? And just in general, share with us your thoughts for helping youth across the county.
Well, David, let me just say what I've been doing as mayor and what I'm doing right now as my track record. Let's just talk about my record. Fact of the matter is that Oxnard has over 40 miles of fiber optic cable that's already been laid all throughout the city. And its original purpose was to provide for something called the intelligent traffic system, another accomplishment that I have based on the fact that the city has had some major traffic challenges. So getting that traffic under control. But we're going to be able to utilize that fiber optic, that network of 40 miles of fiber optic cable to not only entice higher paying jobs and new employers to the city of Oxnard, it's also going to be a vehicle for have public uses of providing high-speed internet. We're talking about 1 gigabyte of internet with a fiber optic cable system. And so it's about what I'm doing now to achieve that goal. we need to expand Oxnard's accomplishment of laying this 40 miles of fiber optic cable. We need to pursue the fiber optic master plan for the county, and we need to make sure that we have high-speed internet, a gigabyte of high-speed internet for every resident of the county of Ventura. But David, we've started right here in the city of Oxnard.
Thank you. And Carmen, we'll go to you. Same question. Tell us about your thoughts about supporting and expanding internet service more widely throughout the county to help students with their distance learning, and also your views on supporting youth in the community in general.
Well, I agree with the project of increasing internet. As I said earlier on in this conversation, we really have to do it for our businesses and our students. And I know we have areas of our city, and I'm sure throughout the county, that are kind of dead zones. And that's got to change, not just for business or students, but for just basic emergency services. But let's talk about youth for a minute. I have so many people who talk to me about their fears, young people fears about the future. They're depressed, they're despondent. They cannot live life the way they expected to. They can't go out and socialize. They're worried about climate change. They're worried about their economic opportunities in the future. Some of them come from very poor families, and they see educational opportunities shrinking. One of my ideas is to do what has been done elsewhere, is to start a savings account for every child born in Ventura County, with a small amount, along with a private partnership. And I know there is a bank that's interested in doing that. Every child born in this county starts to get a savings account. It might be for vocational school, it might be for trade school, it might be for university. And take advantage of our community colleges, which provide basically the first 2 years free. Again, not enough time to talk about it.
Thank you very much. And candidates, we've reached the point where we're going to begin the closing statements. Thank you both for great answers to a lot of great questions. It's really nice to see the community send in and submit these types of questions to get to their feelings about where they live. We're going to begin the closing statements. Carmen, we're going to begin with you when you're ready. 1.5 minutes.
Okay, 1.5 minutes. I really want to encourage people to go to my website, carmenforsupervisor.com, to see what my history is, what my accomplishments are, and who my endorsers are. And it's quite a lot, not enough to really talk about, but I'm very pleased that I have the essential workers, California Nurses Association, United Food and Commercial Workers, Oxnard Police and Oxnard Fire Associations, and many other groups, including the Sierra Club, Cause, Latinas Lead, so many more. But I want to say the reason I am doing this, the reason I ran for city council, the reason I want to be supervisor is to represent the people who live here in Oxnard. Hablo español. Yo sé lo que están viviendo. I know what the people are going through. I can communicate with them. And I got my start trying to stop and successfully stopping a liquefied natural gas terminal. And I felt that our city needed to be stronger to stop it. And since I have been there, we did stop another toxic, polluting project that was being shoved down our throat. And thanks to all of my colleagues, though I led the charge, we did do that, and that includes the mayor. And I want to keep doing that so we can thrive and survive and go forward into a cleaner future for everybody, including the people who are now suffering. Not enough time.
Thank you very much. Our next candidate, Jim Flynn.
So David, I want to end by saying we need to rebuild Oxnard and Ventura County. We need to reinvest in the people of this city and the people of Ventura County, and we need to revitalize neighborhoods. In particular, we need better representation for the residents of Silver Strand and Hollywood Beach. My candidacy is based on one major thing, and that is I'm focused on the economic well-being of the residents of the city of Oxnard and the residents of Ventura County. And right now, it's about getting upward mobility and jobs and opportunity to the people of this great city. And my goal as a county supervisor is to take 147 years of neglecting economic development and make economic development one of the #1 priorities that's provided by county government. That's traditionally not something that county government has focused on, but the time has come for the leadership of the economy. If we're going to sustain our lifestyle, if we're going to preserve the quality of life that we have right here in Ventura County, it cannot come unless we have higher paying jobs. It's unaffordable to live here. We have multiple families crowded into one home here in the city of Oxnard. It's about upward social mobility. It's about the American dream. And it's about someone that will take the reins of the Board of Supervisors and work with those fellow supervisors to make sure that we have the best and highest paying jobs anywhere in the country.
Thank you. Well, both of you candidates did a great job. Sorry we don't have an audience to give you a nice round of applause. But I want to remind voters that everybody will have a choice in the District 5 to vote for one of these two candidates. Before we wrap up, we have a special presentation from the League of Women Voters. I'm just going to share my screen and start this up. And what we want to remind everybody is that every registered voter will get a mail-in ballot. Those ballots, if you choose to fill them out, can be returned by the US mail to the ballot box or to a voting center. And you can still go and vote in a voting center if that's what you prefer to do. Now, with those mail-in ballots, make sure you sign the outside envelope. That's very important. You should be receiving your mail-in ballots this week if you haven't already. Dropbox is open tomorrow. If you have not received a ballot by October 16th, though, contact the Elections Division. The League wants to remind everybody that October 20th is a very good date to target to return your mail-in ballot. That way you'll be very comfortably assured that it'll be received by the post office and returned to the Elections Department by November 3rd, so it can be counted that evening. Now, a ballot only has to be postmarked by November 3rd to be counted as long as it's received by the election within 17 days. So it's very important to get those ballots in early. We want to remind everybody to be patient this year. It may take several days or a week or two to finish all of the counting in California. So we may not know results right away. We also want to remind you about other resources. The Secretary of State has a website, where'smyballot.sos.ca.gov. You can go there, fill out a small bit of information, and then you can track your ballot when you return it. If you send it through the Postal Service or you put it in a ballot box, you can confirm that it was actually collected and received by the Elections Department. To learn more about candidates and statewide ballot propositions, visit votersedge.org. And there you can just put in your address and it'll show you all the candidates running in your area, local ballot measures, statewide ballot measures, a lot of great information that you can view. To learn more about any of the forums the League of Women Voters is hosting, or just voting in general, or even about our organization, visit lwvventuracounty.org. And if you wish to see a video of tonight or any of the other forums, those too will be posted on the same link that you visited earlier to register for this forum. Just go to lwvventuracounty.org and click on candidate forums. With that, I'd like to go ahead and once again thank our candidates and thank the people of Oxnard and Port Hueneme and the rest of the district for watching. Remind everybody to please vote. Don't forget to sign the outside of the ballot if you send in a mail-in ballot. And with that, I'm David Marin from the League of Women Voters. Lastly, just to thank our volunteers, Pat Essick, Betsy Patterson, Cheryl, Maddie, Ruby, Elizabeth, everyone on the team. Thank you very much. I'm David Marin with the League of Women Voters. Good evening.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Very much.
Bye.
Bye.